So nearly 3.5 years after the last album, Testament returned with their 2020 album, Titans of Creation! Whoa! If you follow the band, you know that after the album The Gathering, the band took a long time off, largely due to vocalist Chuck Billy's health issues at the time. I can't say I'm super enthused with the albums the band has come out with, this being their fourth, post that hiatus. However, I am still glad they did because each of the previous 3 albums contained some of my favorite songs by the band. Each album containing at least 2 or 3, even 4 songs that I really like and would consider amongst the best of material. This album unfortunately does not do that. This album, while not awful by any stretch of the imagination, doesn't really do anything interesting. It doesn't bring any new sounds from the band. It doesn't do anything new. It's just the same old, same old. I kind of get an impression that is similar to the previous album, except I feel like this album is more creative than that one was. That being said, the previous album still offered a couple tracks that I really like a lot, and this one doesn't even do that, if I'm being honest with you. The production is fine. It sounds like the past 3 albums. It's got a good sound to it. Chuck sounds pretty decent. There's some decent solos, although none of them are memorable. The playing overall is fairly solid. But again, there's nothing memorable. There's no memorable solos. There's no memorable vocal melodies. There's no memorable riffs. There's no memorable drum beats. None of this is memorable. It's all just cut and paste Testament, modern era. None of this is unique or memorable in any way, shape, or form. The album is 12 tracks, and I will admit this album is too long. After track 9, these last 3 tracks could have been omitted and the album would have lost nothing. If anything else, the album would have improved because it wouldn't be too long at that point. The album opens with the song Children of the Next Level, Children of the Devil, I guess, because we're going with satanic lyrics for this album. I know they've done this before, but at this point, it feels a bit like a cliche. The song has a pretty decent up-tempo to it. There's some decent galloping guitar riffs, drums that fit the guitar riffs perfectly. The vocal melodies are fine. The song itself, there's nothing really I can point to and say, this is bad. The song is just there. It's a run-of-the-mill Testament song. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing bad about it. It's just there. It's okay. But nothing special and nothing I would go out of my way to listen to. Next we have the song World War III. This song is a little bit faster and a little bit heavier than the previous track. This song is kind of a typical thrasher. It's not bad. It's a little bit better than the previous song. I actually like this song a fair bit. But again, there's nothing special to it. It's a decent thrasher, but there's nothing memorable about it whatsoever. Dream Deceiver is the next track and possibly my favorite track on the album. If the song title does not make you think of 70s Judas Priest, then you are not a metal fan and you should really check yourself. This song in style reminds me a bit of a heavier, faster version of Electric Crown. It's a little bit more subdued than the 2 previous tracks, but still up-tempo and heavy. The melodies are pretty decent, and the chorus is the most memorable one we've had to this point. The solo is also pretty decent. Again, it's still nothing special, but it's a pretty decent song. Night of the Witch is another up-tempo, heavier song, and the main verses of this track are some of the most intense moments on the album. Unfortunately, again, the rest of the song doesn't really do a whole lot. It's not bad by any means, but I have a tendency to lose interest in this track fairly quickly. City of Angels is next on the list. I don't know how many songs I've heard with either the song title City of Angels or on the album City of Angels. Such a cliche. This song seems to be about a serial killer running around in the 80s in the Los Angeles area, which I guess somewhat makes sense with the song title. I don't know, this is one of the more creative songs on the album, I suppose. It mixes fast and slow, heavy and soft. although the softer moments are still pretty menacing. I don't really remember this song. Honestly, midway through the track, I already forgot what I had heard in the first half. I do appreciate the change in pace and the addition of some melodic guitars, but this song again doesn't really do a whole lot for me. The solo is pretty decent and offers a little bit of something, but again, it's just another forgettable track. Not bad by any means, but forgettable. Ishtar's Gate is another fairly up-tempo song. This song does give a little bit more attention to the bass, which has its own solo moment in the intro, and a lot of drum and bass solo moments in the verses. Other than that, I honestly don't really remember the song all that much. The solo is fairly decent from what I remember, but beyond that, there's nothing really special. Again, just another fairly decent song, but nothing great about it. Symptoms is more of a mid-tempo song, a bit heavier, slower than all the tracks we've had to this point. It's a little bit more groovy than the songs we've had to this point, but other than that, there's nothing really special about it. Again, there's a decent solo to it, and again, it's not a bad song, but there's just nothing special about it. Next, we have False Prophet, and this song, again, is only okay with a decent solo. I don't really remember this track, and I literally just finished listening to this song. I kind of remember the chorus a little bit, which wasn't particularly spectacular. But otherwise, it's just an average song. The Haunters is next, and this might be my favorite song on the album. It definitely has the best chorus. It's kind of up-tempo, kind of a little mid-tempo. I guess you could say upper mid-tempo, still fairly heavy. The solo I don't really remember all that much. There's not a whole lot special to this track, but at least there's a memorable chorus, which is more than I can say for most of these songs. It's pretty decent. The next two tracks are heavier, faster, a bit thrashier, but otherwise offer pretty much nothing. They're fine, they're not awful by any means, but again, they're forgettable. And the final track on this album should not exist. It's just essentially one of those typical modern intro tracks, except they put it at the end of the album for whatever reason. Completely worthless. So with this album, we've got one of the worst Testament albums, honestly. I think Demonic is worse, simply because of the horrible growling vocals that Chuck uses throughout that album. Otherwise, this would be the worst album Testament has ever done. It's not awful by any means, but it's pretty damn forgettable. Demonic at least had a couple of tracks, John Doe and Hatred's Rise, which are fairly memorable. This album has nothing. I don't remember any of these tracks after just finishing the album. I don't remember a guitar riff, I don't remember a chorus, I don't remember a solo. I don't remember anything from this album, and it's not anything wrong with me. The album just has nothing memorable to it. It's a forgettable thrash album. It's not awful by any means, but it's nothing special. If you're a Testament fan, you should definitely check it out. You might like it, but it's just background music is all it is. Nothing special about it whatsoever.